Okay, hello and welcome to the Patrick Sharp episode of Blackhawks Banter, episode number 10. Thank you guys for all checking in, watching either on Facebook Live or our YouTube channel. Make sure you either hit the like for our Facebook page or subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're watching. Therefore, you'll get notified every time one of our great Hockey Writers live shows hits the airwaves. My name is Greg Boysen. I am your host, discussion leader for the evening, and I am joined by my Blackhawk cohorts over at thehockeywriters.com. We still have no line changes through 10 weeks, something I don't think the Blackhawks are going to be able to say this season. We have Ms. Gail Kauchak joining us. No delays, fresh new camera. How you doing tonight, Gail?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, very good. Of course, we have Brooke LoFurno, as always, with her festive hair attire tonight.
Yes, I know. The USA won the World Juniors. I got my American flower crown. I'm all set.
And we have our fan from north of the border, Shaun Filippelli. Welcome in, Shaun. Sorry, not sorry about last Tuesday night.
Yeah, I appreciate the sincerity behind that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well,
You were to put that all up on to put your emoji up on the American flag.
Oh, I can't wait till tonight's over.
We will, well, technically tomorrow. It's only been 6 days. You said a week.
Oh, I said at the end of Blackhawks Banter.
Oh, okay. All right.
So.
My bad. All right. So we're going to drag this show out. We're going to have a 6-hour discussion tonight just to keep that bad boy up there. Yes, that's what we're going to start with tonight. We're going to address a little friendly bet we had between the four of us heading into last week. Big U.S.-Canada gold medal game. Of course, the United States remained undefeated all time in gold medal games against Canada. 2-0 victory to take home the gold. Big, let's face it was a big upset. The way Canada had played that entire tournament, dominating, hadn't given up a 5-on-5 goal the whole tournament, never trailed until they met the mighty Americans. We had a little friendly wager between the four of us. The loser would have to put the winning team's flag emoji in their Twitter handle. That happened, but they also had to come on and say something nice about the winning country. So, Captain Canada, what would you like to say to our American viewing audience tonight?
Happy to make good on my bet, but just to address one thing in all seriousness, are they undefeated against Canada now, or aren't they? They're 4 in a row, but I don't think they're undefeated.
In gold medal games, I think they are. Yeah, just in gold medal games. Yeah, I think it's 4-0 or 5-0 all time in gold medal games.
Well,
you've kicked our butts plenty of times, but when it matters, you can't get the job done.
Yeah, I guess that's how it stands, right?
Yes.
But on that note, absolutely making good on my part of the bet there, and first of all, saying I'm the one who came up with the bet, so certainly got to hold to it. Watching that game, I think the reality is that the American side just came out strong, and they came out controlled, fast-paced, skilled. Any way that a team needs to come out playing, they came out. Watching that game with my wife, we were in awe. We were sitting there watching, and it was men versus boys, no pun intended. You're watching the Canadian team that should have had more of a handle on the game, and they didn't. And that's unfortunate for Canadians and for fans on our side of the border. But at the same time, you respect good hockey when you see it, and that's what we saw to the American side. So kudos to those kids for coming out ready and for really pushing it to the Canadians, because they're flying that whole game, and they had the Canadians on their heels the whole way through. And when it boils down to it, they just couldn't. The Canadians could never get control back. It looked like they might have midway through the second there, but they just didn't. They didn't have enough to come through and to match up to that speed and that grit, and it obviously paid off. So kudos to the Americans. And we have it on record on our shows that I wanted it to be a Canada-US final, and it was, and you guys did better, and that's just what it boils down to. So congratulations to your side, and until next year.
All right, well, we'll put the World Junior Championship to bed until next December. It was a great tournament. 3 of the 4 of us really enjoyed how it ended, but I think overall the week there were a few complaints to be had. Overall, good stuff, as it always is. All right, so let's turn our attentions to why we're all here, the Chicago Blackhawks. We have actual stuff and things to talk about, actual hockey stuff. This is great. What a treat for all of us. There was a scrimmage yesterday at the United Center. While the Bears were embarrassing themselves, the Blackhawks decided to play, and I made the switch. That was a no-brainer. Team White beat Team Red 8-2. Team Red, had you looked at the rosters ahead of time, you would have thought Team Red had the advantage. That was the team that kind of had most of the guys we're going to see at the start of the regular season. Team White was more of the younger guys, but Team White kind of stuck it to them. 8-2 was the final. The one line on Team White that we're probably going to see heading into the season was going to be the fourth line we saw in the playoffs a little bit last year with Matthew Highmore, David Camp, and Ryan Carpenter. They combined for 3 goals and 8 points in the game yesterday. Other goals, Philip Kurashev had a pair of goals. Lucas Carlson, Brendan Peary, John Quinville, Alex DeBrincat, and Brendan Hagel all scored. It was kind of close. Then they did the goalie switch. Matt Tompkins, not so hot, but, it happens. It's a scrimmage. It doesn't count. And they also put 10 players to Rockford today. We kind of have a better idea of what the roster is going to look like. Amongst those going down to Rockford, Evan Barrett, Mackenzie Entwistle, Michael Tepley, Chad Chris, and Mahe Halupa. I'm so upset that his name's not pronounced Chalupa. I know. The endorsements alone. But Halupa's a pretty fun name. I hope he makes it in scores. I'd love to hear Pat Foley scream out Halupa at the top of his lungs. That would be a good time. So those are that means as of now, guys like Hagel, Kurashev, Ian Mitchell, those guys are currently on the NHL roster. We'll see how that goes with the whole taxi class. So does anybody have anything to kind of add to yesterday and today's news heading into the season?
I'm not too surprised, to be honest. I mean, that the lineup that I saw heading down made sense to me. So not really a lot of surprises other than what you started with, where White dominating that scrimmage. So I think, if anything, that just shows that the determination of those prospects to show that they want to be up there. But that's the only surprise I have out of all of it.
I think Brandon Peary is somebody to watch because it's kind of a surprise that he made the roster. He doesn't really fit the bill. I think he's 29 and pretty much a veteran player. So we'll say I'm kind of got my eye on him as to where he will end up long term. But for now, he's on the team.
Evan Barrett to me was kind of surprising, although I know he had missed some time in training camp, but I really thought he would try to make a run for the roster, especially because of how badly Bowman wanted him here. And he was considered to be kind of like the steal of the draft. So I'm kind of surprised. I mean, kind of surprised, kind of not surprised, but it's kind of interesting that he's going back to Rockford.
I think he had an injury too, though, didn't he? He was nursing something.
He was unfit to participate the first couple of days, but he's coming out of college. He hasn't played pro yet, so getting him some AHL time is not the worst thing in the world. And you mentioned Peary. I had actually said that on Twitter today. Peary is going to make the Blackhawks NHL roster in 2021. Like, this is like 9 years later than it should have happened the first time. Sports are dumb. Sports are dumb. All right, so we can move on to some real big news that happened over the weekend. It doesn't necessarily affect the Blackhawks. It doesn't at all, but it was definitely the talk of the locker room and amongst fans on social media. Of course, we're talking about two-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender with the Blackhawks, Corey Crawford, calling it a career. He had not reported to Devils training camp. The team gave him a leave of absence because of a personal matter. Not a lot of details, but he made it official over the weekend that he is calling it a career. He released this following statement: "I have been fortunate to have a long career playing professional hockey for a living. I wanted to continue my career, but believe I've given all I can to the game of hockey, and I've decided it's time to retire. I would like to thank the New Jersey Devils for understanding and supporting my decision. I would like to thank the Chicago Blackhawks for giving me the chance to live my childhood dream. I am proud to have been a part of 2 Stanley Cups in Chicago. Thank you to all my teammates and coaches throughout the year. Also, thank you to the fans who make this great game what it is. I am happy and excited to move on to the next chapter of my life with my family." Quick and to the point, very good stuff from Corey. Plenty of his former teammates and coaches took to social media. That was all they talked about at training camp, to share their memories and give Crow their best. He's going to go down as one of the top 3 or 4 goaltenders in Blackhawks history. For whatever reason, he doesn't get the respect I think he deserves. So what do anybody want to add on to that, what they think of Corey Crawford's run here or this whole situation?
Yeah, I'll kick it off here. I'll just say, I wonder if you're all thinking this too, but had they found a deal with him here in Chicago, I wonder if this would have happened when it did, or if it was just inevitable anyway. Obviously, his health and his family comes first, but it makes you wonder, had he found a happy fit here, would he have actually played, or would this still be the same decision? So I'm kind of curious about that, but obviously good on him for doing what he's doing and for making the decision he needs to. I think that says a lot about him and his character, and that's good. Kudos to him. He's had a great career, and he has every right to make this decision. Greg, you hit it on the head. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the most underappreciated athletes of this era of hockey, let alone in Chicago sports history, in my opinion. I don't know why. He just never will get the respect that he's due. Maybe now that he's actually retired and people can have time to digest what he was part of, maybe it'll resonate a little bit better. But he showed up. He showed up to play. He showed up when it mattered most, and he always got the job done. He never won the personal awards. He was never flashy. He was never in the spotlight. But he had players around him that took that spotlight away, and it is what it is. He obviously, his numbers speak for themselves, and he's going to go down as a great.
I'm actually really sad about a couple things. One is, like you said, Sean, I am a little curious about how that came about, because you would think if you're kind of contemplating retirement, that would have came before you signed a 2-year deal with New Jersey. I wonder how that kind of came about. But on the contrary, I think this sucks, because I think the NHL is going to miss him tremendously this season. I don't think the game will be as fun without a goaltender of his caliber. For all the Carey Prices and the Henrik Lundqvist and the Braden Holtbys and the Corey Crawfords, like, I feel like now there's just that one kind of missing link now, and that kind of sucks. And even for a Blackhawks fan, I was kind of excited to see him with New Jersey and see if he could actually take that team to the next level, because he obviously proved that he can still play at this level. And I feel like it's now even going to sting a lot even this year, knowing that he's gone and retired, and now our goaltending situation is kind of a mess. So maybe this kind of mess will give him more kind of respect that he's due, because you're right, he definitely deserves it. And the game is going to miss him tremendously. I love him, and I wish him all the best. Maybe we'll see him in the Blackhawks organization as a goalie coach or something. Who knows?
Well, I think the thing that stuck out for me is Patrick Kane said, he said that he really wanted to win another cup and win it here. And I really do think that if he would have signed in Chicago for 1 year like they wanted him to, he would still be here. To his credit, I think he probably got to New Jersey. He thought he could do it, and he realized he couldn't do it once he was there, once he was in a different environment, once he wasn't in Chicago anymore, his comfort zone. But I think the thing that I'm going to remember most about Crawford, and it's kind of a strange thing, obviously there's the talent and there's the highlight reels and all that, but I just never forget when he would, when you would interview him, and he was always just so deadpan and so serious, and and you almost just felt like, oh my gosh, wake up, do something, care. But the thing is that once you realize that that's just how he was so focused and he was so intense that it almost seemed like he didn't give a crap, and I think that focus and that mentality is really what made him who he was. It was the mental side of the game. Obviously there was the talent, but there's so much of that mental side of the game that you don't realize. And he, for some reason, he made me appreciate that. I thought that he was just that focus. We're going to miss him. We're going to miss him.
Yeah. It's everybody comes to a time, especially when you're a professional athlete, where your brain and your heart says you want to do it, but your body tells you can't do it anymore. And kudos to him for, he's had multiple concussions. The dude had COVID and came back and played out of his mind 3 weeks later with no practice. So, and we still don't know what the long-term effects of that is on people right now. So who knows what's going on, but I'm happy that he's made this decision. I'm sad to see him go. He's one of my all-time favorite Blackhawks, period. I was a huge fan, still will always be a huge fan. He didn't get the respect. He didn't even get the respect in this town for years. Everybody wanted to, it was like some unwritten rule of hockey that you can't have a really good team and have a good goaltender. Like they always want to discredit the goaltender on really good teams that win a lot because, anybody can do it. No, anybody can't do it. We've seen that. Chris Osgood gets the same treatment with those teams in Detroit. People don't think he's that good. But yeah, he had great times, but they don't prevent every shot from getting to the net. So, somebody asked me on Twitter, do you think he's a Hall of Famer? I think yes, he is, but I think it's going to be a while to get there because of that especially with the East Coast and Canadian media, it seems that the national media never really gave him the props that he deserved. You even heard it, in that 2013 Stanley Cup, all they talked about was Corey Crawford's glove hand while Tuukka Rask was letting everything in. So, hopefully he gets there one day. He deserves it. My favorite thing about Corey Crawford, you had mentioned his focus, Gail, and the way he was. He never seemed to let a soft goal get to him. He just got right back into the game. But the thing that I appreciate and respected the most about him, and this was before I was even getting into hockey locker rooms and talking to guys after games, is no matter what the scoreboard said, no matter if he was the star or he had the worst game of his career, he was always the first guy to his locker stall, and he was going to answer every question that was asked of him. If he gave up 7 or if he had a shutout, he was the same guy. And I respect that, just because a lot of guys, when they don't have a good game, you can't find them. They go hide in the shower until the media leaves, where he would stand up and say, yeah, I suck tonight. I'll be better next time. I always can appreciate guys who do that. So I think I speak for all of us here and all of us in Chicago that we hope that Corey, just take care of yourself and enjoy your family. You've earned it. And thank you for those 2 Stanley Cups. Those were fun.
I think also something that kind of just stuck out to me when you guys were talking is that knowing that Crawford's retired almost kind of hits you as a fan, knowing that is basically the fall of our dynasty. Like, that's what we have to accept, that like those days are gone and over, and that's hard, but now we're looking to build a new dynasty.
Yep. Yeah. And one other thing, thank you for giving us the world's greatest rally speech ever. We won't repeat what he said, but we all know what he said. That should be on his Hall of Fame plaque if he gets in one day. All right, so now we'll get on to the Blackhawks. We are just 2 sleeps away from the start of a new season. That is exciting. Going into a season. Yep, I don't think we have the excitement we have in past. I mean, we're excited for hockey. We're excited for the NHL. There are reasons to be excited about this Blackhawks season. Believe it or not, there are things that are going to make a difference going forward that happens this year. But as far as championship aspirations, I don't think there's many of us who have any of those this year. But through the first few days of training camp, we kind of have, with no preseason games, it's a little different. But we kind of have an idea what Jeremy Colliton's going to roll out for our top line this season. And it looks like Dylan Strome. Nobody would have predicted he was going to be our top line center 2 weeks ago, but here we are. He's going to be in between Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat as the top line. Those 3 have played together in the past before, had a lot of success. Essentially, there are 3 best offensive players right now, arguably at least 3 out of the 4 best offensive players we have. So why not load up on that top line? Do you guys think this is the good call? Do you think this line is going to be good, or do you have another option? Brooke, what do you think about our top line, so to say?
It's not my first choice, obviously, but we don't really have many options for that dominant first line role. Honestly, those 3 are pretty much the only combo that makes sense for that line for right now. But like I said, not my first choice, but for right now, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I do love Kane and DeBrincat together, no matter how that goes about, whether it's on the first line or second line. So I think that will be fine. But yeah, like I said, not my first choice, but in the correct circumstances. But for right now, I agree with it. And this could probably be the line that could be the difference maker for wins and losses.
Sean, what do you think of this top line?
Yeah, I mean, these are obviously their offensive stars. These are who they have to work with. Greg, like you said, there are some others on this team, but these are the 3 that are going to be looked to produce the most. So sure, load them all up and put them on that first line. To me, looking at it, it just looks like a situation where if these 3 can truly lead the way, then what it's going to do is it's going to ease off on some of those prospects and give them an easier opportunity to transition and actually start making their own impact without the pressure of having to. If more of that pressure is put on these 3 where it should be, maybe we can see those prospects, those Hagels, for instance, come in and have a little bit of a smoother transition and start to produce naturally a little bit more. Chemistry between DeBrincat and Strome is obvious. We know that from them playing in juniors. I know the argument can be made that Strome should be able to play anywhere and with anybody, and I can get behind that too. But at the same time, they have the chemistry, so let's let them build on it and see where it goes. And the reality too is you put anybody with Kane and they're going to play better. So let's get these guys who need to be producing alongside Kane, and let's hope that they can all do the best they can, and maybe Kane can sort of pass the torch to the younger kids here who have to pick it up a little
Okay, Gail, you were in our preview post. You were kind of the only one that was. You were the only negative one. What's going on, Ms. Gail?
Well, I don't like this line together. I love all these players, but I just don't think that it's a balanced line. They can score a ton of goals, but they are not responsible defensively. And I think that in order to have balance in the lines, that they should put someone on that's more defensively responsible. And then that's going to make your second line more of a threat as well if you move one of those others to the second line. I see, maybe you take one of them off. You take one of them off. I could see Strome and Kane being together. So then you give them Kubalik, who's a little bit more defensive responsible than DeBrincat, or the three of them. And if you recall, Colleton did this last year and the year before, I think, as well. He started with Kane and Tays. He started with the strongest three. I don't remember. I think it was at Sod maybe on the other. I don't remember. But I think it's going to change. I don't think it's going to stay this way. And I think that obviously he's going to move people around. So I just think that they need to be a little bit more balanced in their approach with this.
No, that's a good argument about the defense. This is not exactly a defensive minded line, but to me, I'm okay with that. They've made enough improvements with the defense forwards down the rest of the three lines. Obviously, one of the other tidbits we learned just before heading on air was Carl Soderbergh is not going to go on this first road trip. He's still having visa issues. That stuff always blows my mind when you're a professional hockey player and you can't get back in the country, but smarter people than me will take care of that. So he's going to miss the first couple games. When you got a guy like Soderbergh, you got Walmark and Janmark, the Marks brothers, as I'm going to call them this year. You've gotten better defensively out of your forwards group. So, they're not going to be in the defensive zone that many times to really worry about it. They're going to get most of their starts in the offensive zone, and they got the type of puck possession play where, they're not going to go out there in the third period and take any defensive zone draws. So unless it's an icing or something like that. So your points are very valid, Gail, and usually I would agree with that. But in this case, in this season, just let them go. You got enough defense out there to spread around. You need to have one line to make the opponents worry about. And this is really the only line that you really can have the other coach maybe make sure that his best defensive line and best pairing is out there against these three. And then that opens up the offense for some of the other lower level tier guys like Shaun had said. So,
well, and now that I think about it, they're going to have that awesome fourth line of Camp and Carpy and Highmore, setting them up, putting them in the right spot. So you're right.
And as you also said, Gail, it's not going to stay this way the whole season.
Yeah.
Guys are going to return. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to get hot and cold. Matchups, lines never stay the same. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of arguing who should be on what line, because it can change from shift to shift. Yeah. But to start the year, I'm all for it. Just load it up. This is the new nuclear option. Wow. Yeah. Doc and Taves is gone. You got to do something to make it worth watching. So put the three best guys together and see how it goes. Somebody's got to score the goals on this team. From the first line to the second line, this seems going to be an ongoing issue this year with Taves and Doc out of the picture. Who's going to center that second line? During training camp, Colleton's been trying out three different guys. He's had Dominic Kubalik, he's had Andrew Shaw and Pius Suter all centering that line. It kind of looks like Suter's going to get that job to begin with. All three of those guys kind of have their pros and cons of being a center, but it is what it is. You can only play the cards you're dealt at this point. Who do you guys think should be the Blackhawks second line center, at least to start, as we know it's not going to remain the same? Shaun, what's your opinion on our second line right now?
I'm going to preface by saying I think it makes sense for Suter to be that center. However, with sort of this interesting offseason that they're having and, not knowing what to expect this season, and it sort of being a year, in my opinion, that they should just try whatever they can and see what works. For some reason, Kubalik came to mind for me. I dug into it a little bit deeper, and obviously, him being 6'2", he has the height reach on those two others. So I just thought, naturally, why not give him that chance? He did not have a lot of face-off experience last year. He's not a natural centerman, but why not? Why not give him the chance, see what he can do? See if his reach does anything for him. See if it helps improve his two-way game. See if he can still push the play forward and force the play the way he did last year as a winger. Just see. Who knows? Who knows if they're going to have even more depth at center because they turn a guy like Kubalik, who shouldn't be in that position, into a quality centerman. So to me, I'm going to say put him in the center, let his reach do the talking, and see what happens. See if he can grow his game that way.
Okay. Gail, what's your take on line number 2?
Well, I originally thought when we knew that Tays and Doc were out that it was going to be Strome and then Soderbergh, however you say it, as second line. Of course, we don't know because he's not here yet. And I think that he still could be the second line center. And that was kind of what I was leaning towards. And remember, you guys, I said that I had high hopes for Wallmark. I think Wallmark's going to give him a run for his money. And he could be second line or third line center and do a really awesome job and fill in as that depth guy. I do like the argument of Suter, but I also think that he would be better utilized on wing just to get started at least. I could see that happening, though, down the road where Suter would be at center as well. Some options. We've got some options.
We certainly do. Brooke, what's your option for second line?
When we keep discussing Soderbergh, we have to come up with a new thing every week about Soderbergh. Watch, where is he? What's he doing? I'm gonna say I really actually love that line of Suter, Shaun, Kubalik. It's not one I would ever think to put together, but in some weird, odd kind of way, I kind of like it. I think they all kind of provide depth scoring in their own ways, and I said Shaw would be my pick for that center, only because he's been in that role and he usually has a lot of success in that role, but he's okay. Obviously, he's good for depth scoring on wing too, so I don't have a problem if he's on wing or center, but I would not have a problem at all if he was on center and then Suter and Kubalik are like the two big Swiss scoring punches. I think that'd be a pretty fun line, but I'm with Gail too. I think I could see Soderbergh doing the second line center too.
Yeah, they definitely have options, and hopefully one day this season, number 19 will come back, and that will definitely make things a little easier. But, at this point, you just have to assume that's not going to happen until it does. Kubalik, I'm not a fan of the Kubalik at center. I know he's got the most size out of this group, but you really lose what he's good at when you play him in the middle. He's so good at finding that soft spot in the ice, and he's got such a good shot that I think you lose that if you put him in the middle. He's really good at just, as I said, he's getting into that little spot, finding space for himself, and then getting off that quick release and scoring goals. That's a goal-scoring winger. You need to keep him there. You lose more than you would gain by putting him at center. Suter, I mean, it looks like that's what they're going to go with. I would prefer to ease him in at the wing. This is his first. He hasn't yet to play an NHL game. This is in Switzerland. Playing center in the NHL is maybe one of the most difficult positions in all of professional sports, just with the extra responsibility defensively. Maybe it's not the greatest idea to get a first-year NHL guy at the middle, but he's got experience at it in Europe. I don't know, trial by fire. Maybe it works. Maybe he's a natural center that we just didn't know about. Lord knows I've been wrong many times before. So that would be something. One guy that I will suggest that maybe get a look. I know he's on a line that everybody is in love with right now, but I wouldn't mind seeing Ryan Carpenter playing in between Kubalik and Suter at some point this season. He moved up and down the lineup last year. He's not a flashy guy, but he's that guy that will take up space in the middle of the ice, get in front of the net, create space for his two wingers with the good shots. He showed, if you watched that scrimmage last night, he made a couple of nice passes to set up goals. So he's got that ability too. I know you don't want to break up that line right now, but maybe at some point you put him in between those guys and see what you get. That line is going to be something different every night, I think. Once the season gets rolling, you're going to get some experiments on that line. It's basically going to be whoever ride the hot hand, who's ever playing the best, put him there. Let's see what we got.
Yeah.
All right. While we're trying to predict lines, let's predict. This is my favorite part of the year. We've got some predictions going for the Blackhawks and from around the NHL. Everybody loves predictions. It could be fun. Maybe at the end of the year, we'll go back and revisit this and see how many of us got it right and how many of us have no idea what the heck we're talking about. So for our preview post, which you can check out over at thehockeywriters.com. And don't forget, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, hit the like button for the Hockey Writers. And if you're over on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button before you head on out. And then you'll never miss another episode of Blackhawks Banter or any of our great shows presented by Hockey Writers Live. So our Blackhawks predictions, our posts, our preview posts that we do every week, usually Fridays or Saturdays, we'll give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to chat about. I asked you guys to tell me who you think is going to lead the Hawks in goals, assists, points, and the ever so important goaltending wins. And we had a lot of the same answers, so I won't have us all go through it all. Everybody except Sean had Patrick Kane leading in goals, kind of the easy choice. I had him down for 28. And both Brooke and Gail had him down for 25. Sean, you have Alex DeBrincat scoring 30 goals in 56 games. That would be awesome if he could pull that off. Everybody had Kane with the assists, except for me. I have Dylan Strome leading the team in assists. I figure if he's going to be in between their top two goal scorers, he's got a really good chance of picking up a lot of assists. As far as points go, again, Gail, myself, Brooke, we all had Patrick Kane, and Sean is riding high on the Alex DeBrincat. Gail, you had Kane with 68 points, the highest. DeBrincat with 54 for Sean. And Brooke has Kane down for 65. I went with 59 only because that's his career average. I literally just took his career average of points per game, multiplied it by 56 and went for it. So that's 59. We all have Colin Delia as our leading winner of goalie wins. Brooke has him at 16, Sean 15, Gail at 10. I have him winning 9 games. Thoughts? Well, I mean,
and I thought maybe mine was a little too high, but I just went with it anyways.
I'm not sure the Blackhawks are going to win much more than 18 or 19 games, period. So if it's gonna be half and half, he gets 9, Subban gets 9. There's your 18 wins.
Just to put it in perspective, last season, Crawford and Leonard both had 16 wins.
Yeah.
And there were 70 games. They split them pretty evenly. So 16 wins is pretty high.
Yeah, I thought that when I wrote that. I was like, that's a little high, but I'll go with it.
But it's not impossible.
Hope you're right.
It's not impossible. I mean, that means that he's solidified himself as the starter, and he's going to get the majority, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want that. As I said on Twitter yesterday, it's not about who starts the season as the number one goaltender. It's all about who finishes the season as the number one goaltender. So if either one of those guys wins 16 games, that means they've solidified themselves, and that's a good thing. So any other things to add on your scoring totals? I know Sean,
you said it already there. I'll touch on Delia there. I agree. He's going to solidify the spot. That's why I gave him 15. I mean, I still don't think 15's overly high, but given the landscape of their season, I guess it could be. As far as DeBrincat goes, which is where you're probably going to segue to next. I mean, I've been riding high on DeBrincat, for weeks now as we've had these banters. So I'm not going to stop now. I think he's going to have a nice rebound season. I like how he's being positioned as the season gets underway, and I'm just going to ride high on that. And I'm going to say that he's going to come out strong, and the torch will be passed, and he will pass Kane in that respect and then take over.
Well, 30 goals in a 56-game season, that would definitely put him in the running for the Rocket Richard Trophy, but we'll have our predictions. A little foreshadowing. Did you have the stones to name him your leading goal scorer for the year? Stay tuned.
Stick around and find out.
Film at 11.
I can't wait.
All right, now that we have our player predictions, what we didn't put in the post that we're going to chat about now is the moment of truth. How do you think the Blackhawks are going to do? How many points do you have the Blackhawks down for the season? Reminder, 56 games, so the best possible outcome is 112 points, if my math is correct. I'm no math major, but nobody's going to come anywhere close to that. Where do you guys have let's just go around the horn and see what we got. Gail, what do you think point total at the end of the year?
You know what? Go to somebody else first because I missed this one. I missed this on our preview. So
all right, fair enough.
This one.
we'll come back to you.
100. What did you say? 112.
112 is the max. There's only 56 games.
Okay.
So yeah, nobody's getting 90 points this year. At least that would be impressive. But the Blackhawks aren't the team that's going to press that. Brooke, where do you have them at?
I don't know, like 30, 32, something like that.
Okay, that's
That's a little
I thought
high. I know.
I thought I was being negative on my guess.
Yeah.
Well, you have Delia at 16 wins, so that's 32 points there. So you're saying no wins with
Yeah.
Malcolm Subban.
Exactly. I'm riding high on the Delia train.
All right. That's fair enough. We'll accept it. We'll allow it. Sean, where do you have them at points?
I guess call me the optimist on this one, but I still think they're going to be just slightly below 500. I don't know if they're going to be as bad as you guys think, but there's still a lot of parity in this league. So I'm going to give them 54 points. I don't think they're going to be quite 500. They're going to be sub 500, but I still think they're going to get some points along the way, especially the way the division's lined up and some of those teams that they can beat throughout this year.
Yeah, I have them around 45. There are definitely, some opportunities to get some points out there. You're going to be playing a lot of back-to-backs. You're going to be facing a lot more backup goaltenders than you normally would. Though I think that would, even if this was a normal season, I think the Blackhawks would be facing a lot of backup goaltenders more so than not, just because, teams like to put their backups out there, unfortunately, against teams like the Hawks. But I think they'll have some chance to be good, competitive. I don't think they're going to stink out the joint per se. I think they'll be competitive for most of the year. Obviously, every team's going to have a bad game, but I think 45 points are going to be like that, just like they kind of were against Vegas. They're going to hang tough, but just not have that oomph to get them over the edge, and they'll lose a few heartbreakers this season, and maybe they'll get a bunch of loser points in overtime or shootouts. Gail, did you have your number yet?
Yeah. I guess before you went, I was probably going to say somewhere between 40 and 50. I'm trying to remember. I didn't they have like 78 points last season. Does anybody know what they are predicting points wise for winners of the division with the 56 game?
I haven't seen a whole lot. I mean, if I were to guess, I would put anything between like 75 and 85 is going to be good to win a division. Like no one's in this crazy schedule. No one's going to run away with anything.
So what's going to happen here, and everybody's going to probably say, well, they should just stink up the joint, but they're probably going to go right in the middle once again, and not have much to show for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants them, not everybody, but a lot of people want them to tank and be bad and get that number one pick. It's easy for us to say, but there's nobody in that locker room that is going to agree to that in any locker room. And if you have a locker room full of guys that say, hey, let's lose so this team can be really good in 6 years when I'm no longer in the league, then you've got problems. So they will be the only 18 guys that really cares if they win per night. And that's okay. That's what you want. All right, those are our Hawks predictions. We got some time for our NHL predictions. Do our postseason trophy predictions. We'll just run through our lists real quick. We don't have to get into too much in depth. I'll start it off just so we have an idea of what kind of lists I had everybody want to predict. All of our postseason awards plus division winners and a Stanley Cup winner. Calder Trophy Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators. I think he's going to be a special player. We saw a little bit of that at the World Juniors. I'm giving the Rocket Richard for most goals and the Art Ross Trophy for most points, both to Connor McDavid. I think him and his teammate up there, Mr. Draisaitl, are basically just going to switch off that award every other year. It's McDavid's turn. Vezina Trophy, best goalie. I'm going to give it to Vasilevsky with the Lightning. He's still the best goalie in the league, and they're going to need him this year with no Kucherov. Norris Trophy, best defenseman. John Carlson for the Capitals is my pick. I think he should have won it last year. Hart MVP, the Hart Trophy, Connor McDavid. It's his year. And then our division winners. We got 4 new divisions. In the West, I'm going with the Colorado Avalanche. The Blackhawks Central Division, I'm going to pick the Carolina Hurricanes to win the division. Vancouver is going to win my North Canadian Division. I think they've got the best goaltending, and in a crazy season like this year, having Braden Holtby start 30 games for you might be pretty good, or 20, whatever he's going to play. And then the Capitals are going to win my East. That was the hardest division. That can go to just about anybody. That's the most stacked, I think, top to bottom. And finally, my Stanley Cup winner, former Blackhawk division rival, will be division rival again next year. I'm going to give the cup to the Colorado Avalanche this year. If they get solid goaltending and stay healthy, that was their problem last year. From top to bottom, their skater lineup is deeper than anybody else in the league, and they're damn fast. So that's my picks. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
All right.
Oh, since I went the last time. Okay. Calder Trophy, pretty predictable. I like Alexis Lafreniere. Almost went with Stutzel. I would love to see that, but I don't think it's going to happen. Richard Trophy, Ovechkin. He's trying to catch up to Gretzky. Let's get him going. He's going to be on fire. Art Ross goes to Drysdale. I think he's going to edge out McDavid. Let's go with for the Veneza. Carter Hart. Purely sentimental here. I love that kid and I want to see him do good. Again, going with the youngsters, defenseman Quinn Hughes. Why the heck not, right? Let's stick with the youth. Who else do we have? The Hart Trophy, I'm not going to tell you until I tell you who wins the Stanley Cup, because it'll give it away. Okay, in the West, I went with the Avalanche, back and forth with the Knights. Maybe the Knights, I can't decide. One or the other of them. Central, the Lightning. North, Maple Leafs. East is the Flyers, because I don't like the Caps, I don't like the Pens, and I don't like Boston. So let's go with the Flyers. Okay, Stanley Cup winner is going to be Carolina Hurricanes, because they're not going to win the division, but they're going to kick the Lightning's butt, and that's going to give them their momentum to carry on. It's my upset pick, and the MVP is going to be Sebastian Aho.
I have him on my fantasy team, so I hope you're right.
He's a good fantasy player to have.
Yes.
I'll carry over from there. I'm going to give the Calder to Lafreniere as well. The Rocket Richard's going to Matthews. My Art Ross is going to go to McDavid, because you can never go wrong with McDavid getting the most points. Vezina, I agree. Vasilevsky's going to have another stellar year. Norris, I'm giving to Hedman. Hart, I'm giving to Matthews with the Leafs. And for my divisions, obviously, I'm going to stick with that theme. The Maple Leafs will take the Canadian division, the North division. Central, the Lightning will take it. East, Flyers. West, Avalanche, just like Gail. And my Stanley Cup winners, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't say, will be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Knew that was coming.
I don't know. I had a hard time with this one. I keep going back and forth even when I'm staring at and listening to you guys. I don't know. I guess for the Calder, I'll just say, like what you guys have just said, Alexis Lafreniere. Most goals, I'd want to say, like, this is like the optimist or maybe like sentimentalist in me, but I would hope it would be Panarin. I always hope that for him every year. Most points, I would probably give that to McDavid. I just think he's a good option for that. Best goalie. I wouldn't want to pick Vasilevsky, even though I know he makes sense. I feel like I should pick someone. I guess I'll just stick with him. He's a good option for that. Hart Trophy. Yeah, I'll go with McDavid for that one. He's pretty standard, I would think. Then division winners, North Division. I'm gonna go with, I think, Montreal as the weird. I know that's way off, but I'm gonna keep that because I don't know. I think they might be surprising this year. In the West, I'm gonna go with Las Vegas. I think they're always a good candidate for the Stanley Cup. For the Central, yeah, I'm going to pick Carolina. I have them being hard to beat. And the East, I'm going to go with Washington. They're always usually hard to beat too. So yeah, those are my picks.
What about your Stanley Cup?
Oh, Stanley Cup.
Who's winning it all?
Do you know what? I have a weird Washington thing right now. I don't know why, so I'm just gonna go with Washington.
They got the good young goaltending there and some good defense, so you never know.
Yeah.
That's not a terrible pick by any means. All right, so that's gonna wrap up our predictions. Again, hopefully This group will still be together come June or July, whenever the heck the Stanley Cup is awarded, and we can take a look back and see who had the most of these right, and have some fun with that. But speaking of fun, the season is starting Wednesday night. Blackhawks and Lightning down in Tampa Bay. We get to see a banner raising ceremony. Maple Leafs, are they Montreal? Was that who they're playing to start things off? Makes sense. Big rivalry. Get it going early.
Yeah.
Hockey is back in 2 days. That's a good thing, not only for us here, but all across North America. So keep tuning in every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll keep you updated on all things Blackhawks over the next 56 games. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be fun. It's probably going to be frustrating. But
We're here for therapy. We
Yes.
vent with everyone.
yes, we will yell. We will yell at each other so you don't have to. We'll watch these games so you don't have to, and we'll keep you up to date on all things Blackhawks. Once again, please like the Hockey Writers Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's where you're watching us. Once again, I'm Greg. Thank you, Gail, Brooke, Sean, for joining in and chatting tonight. As always, it's been a great time, and we will see you all next